What's up, guys? Knock here with Rock City YGO, and today we have
Clay.
And what you do, man?
Over this past Sunday, I went to the Duluth Regional in Georgia. It was 9 rounds of Swiss. I've ended up finishing 10th overall. So the deck performed really well over the course of the tournament. A couple of misplays on my part probably cost me top 8, but it's a learning experience.
Yeah. All right, let's get right into it, man.
All right, so I played Swordsoul for this event. I felt the most comfortable with Swordsoul. I tried out a couple of the other decks like Despia and the Punk stuff, and it's like I felt a lot more comfortable with this deck because if you sequences a lot of your plays correctly, you will usually be able to beat most of the boards if you draw a healthy mix of Swordsouls and Tinies. So I'll explain a couple of the ratios that I got over, but like some of the obvious ones I'm not really going to go into. So it's 3 Moye, 3 Longyun, and then 2 Taie. We played 2 Taie because we play Desires because it's a god card, and then
Of course.
3 Ecclesia. So I play 3 Ecclesia because I'm not going to win every die roll, and I want to maximize the amount of Swordsoul monsters I can see in my hand. So even though going first, this is the probably the worst Swordsoul, except maybe this one. Going second, this is the best Swordsoul in the entire deck. It lets you play around Token Collector. If you open and your opponent just puts a monster on board because it's a tuner, and then it just baits every hand trap in the game as well. We don't play any fusion cards, so we don't get to use the second effect, but that's irrelevant, so who cares about that one? Great. So next to the Tinies, we played 3 Ashina, 3 Vishuddha, 2 Adhara, and 1 Shathana. Anybody who says that you shouldn't play Shathana because the whole Heavenly Circle tribute spin to Abaxia, that is irrelevant. That probably never comes up. If you circle tribute and you search Shathana, you're going to spin 3 cards, and the difference between 3 cards and 4 cards is very minuscule. But these cards are pretty crazy. Cut Adhara to 2. It's probably not the greatest Tenyi to draw on your opening hand by itself. This card's insane. This is Ecclesia 2.0 going second. Next to the hand traps, we played 3 Ash, 3 Valor,
Insane.
and then 3 Imperm. I didn't main deck Crow. It was kind of a decision that I made. These 9 hand traps hit basically every single deck in the format. To an equal degree. This card ended up overperforming on the weekend. I drew 2 of this a decent amount against like heavy combo decks. Like I think round 6 I played against Libromancer, which is just like a Scythelock deck, and I opened 4 of these, and then 2 of them were a fake failure. So he passed on Hauk, and I just basically just killed him from there. But Valor's okay against Despia. It's really good if you don't open Ash for the Branded Fusion and you can Veil the Lubellion if they don't open Lost. Because it trades for a card in their hand as well. And then Ash against Despia and FTK, but I only play against one of those, and yeah, I FTK'd with Ash, so there we go. On the spells, we play 3 Emergence. This says Search a Swordsoul on it, so it's pretty good. We played 3 Circle. I decided to not play Vessel. A lot of times when I was playing Vessel and testing, it made my good hands better, but sometimes if you had to trigger Vessel off of a Swordsoul token instead of a Tenyi summoned, it didn't really add to your board at all. Whereas this card was crazy. It helps you dodge a bunch of hand traps, and then the other part is that it's a quick play spell card, so you can actually use it in the end phase to secure a kill during your opponent's next turn by searching a Tenyi monster by offing like a spent Shishao, and then you get to search a second Tenyi, so you get a full Tenyi combo. So this card was really good all weekend. I fully expect to play this. Also, Pseudo Mine Out, that was really relevant. I played against 3 different mine decks over the course of the weekend. Next, 3 Chalice. So this card was crazy. I quite literally won my round 3 against Agnister specifically because I drew Chalice for turn. Because his end board, when I had 2 trap set, was Mine Lingeribo, and if I don't draw Chalice, then I can't out the mine. So because I drew Chalice, I chaliced the Lingeribo, blacked out his mine and his Lingeribo, and then just killed him. So this card ended up being clutch all weekend. The best part about this over Droplet is that Droplet is only worth it if you're pitching Tenyis. So a lot of times, sure, Droplet can negate multiple things, but this card ended up being a lot more flexible. 2 Desires, the God card. It should probably be at 3, but don't tell Konami I said that. 1 Call By. This card should be banned. This card's broken.
Obviously.
Then Spicy Tech in the main deck. 1 Duster. We are never getting decked out by the mind decks. People who commit to deck out, you draw this card, they sit there staring at you because they can only just have mind because you have blackout. Then you duster them and then you just kill them immediately. Yeah, I play against a striker player round 7. He impermed my Sinister Sovereign and then activated mine because he bricked, and then he was like, all right, he can't kill me. So I draw for turn, I activate the Duster I drew for turn, and then, or I opened, and then he just immediately scooped after I long gun pitched. And then game 3, he set 3 and searched with Shizuku and Engage. So I dusted his 3 back row and I killed him. And then finally like went off the Katari Blackout. I usually don't side this out going second because I like to maximize the amount of engine in the main deck. And even though this card is technically a trap card, it is still technically engine because you can end up in some weird scenarios where you have to tribute a token for token collector, and then you can banish your Blackout with Shisha and just make the board to kill them. Yeah, so those 43 cards in the main deck.
We can do the extra deck next.
Sure. So, extra deck. I think I made every single card in my extra deck except one of them over the course of the weekend because it's a little more specific, but that's usually how this deck works. Anyway, 3 Monk. The third one will come up a decent amount if you're using the tennies in combination to put up a board. Like, say the only one you're playing into a board and the only one you draw is Ashina, you need to have the third Monk so that way you have a follow-up play for the next turn if you're not able to kill them. So 3 Monk was really good. I think I made the third one maybe once or twice over the course of the weekend, but I am very happy that it was in there. So he's being moral support most of the time. But other than that, he was really good. 1 Shaman. Usually use this card if your initial plays get stopped and you need to secure a couple of things in the end phase, especially if you get rocked. This card's amazing when you get rocked and you have Tinny combo. Next, the Synchro, the Yang Xing Synchro, so Yazi, Double Boxia, and Chaofeng. So Chaofeng, it was okay over the course of the weekend. I didn't make it a lot. I think I made it once. I could have made it in one of my rounds, but I decided that I want to play around Token Collector instead of Nibiru, so I made Berserker instead. This card is okay. It has a third effect that a lot of people don't remember, where if it runs over something, you can summon a worm monster from your deck that has the same attribute as a monster in your opponent's graveyard. That practically never comes up, but if it does, it's pretty broken. This card is broken. My God. I wouldn't surprise me if this card get hit to 1 on the next ban list, just based on like how much 2 comes up. But I think there's probably other things that are going to be hitting on the ban list besides Boxia. I think it's like lower on the radar. But this card playing it too was crazy all weekend. I made Yazi once. I immediately won the game when I made it. So I'm glad he was there.
Usually how that card is.
Yeah. Yazi, you're not going to be making it a whole lot because, you know, Halkarodon's banned, basically, for this deck. But when you need him, there's no card that's better. 1 Berserker. This is how you kill people. It also plays around Token Collector, which is relevant. Next, the flex spot in the deck is usually 1 of 3 cards in most deck profiles, but I decided to play Psychic and Punisher. So this card, I didn't make him at all weekend because the requirements are usually like a level 4 like tuner, either your token or Ecclesia, and then a level 7 Tenny monster, or one of the level 10 synchros and Effect Veiler. Usually make him in scenarios where if you have a decent, like, if your opponent has a decent life point lead or you have a decent life point lead, you can make him, and then during the battle phase, he gains the attack forever for some reason, and then you just brutally kill them. But other than that, it's fine. Next, Tu Chi Shao is mandatory. I'm not going to explain this ratio. He's really good. You should make him a lot. Next, level 10s, we got Baron, Chen Ying, and Qixing Longyun. I didn't actually make this a whole lot at the regional because I was assuming most of my opponents were going to be playing the Nibiru. So I ended up making this a lot going first. This card, it helps you play around the reason I wanted to play around Nibiru is because Nibiru is basically like Ash against Despia. It's an OTK, it's an FTK against this deck if you don't open like Heavenly Circle with like the full Tenyi combo and like the back burner, or you start with the Tenyi combo to make Chow Fang. But this card ended up being really good because the way this deck trades, it ends up in a simplified game state a lot. So if you make Baron in a simplified game state, it's an auto win because you're negating the card they're drawing for turn. I made this guy, I think, 3 times over the course of the regional. I did the draw 2 combo twice. Once against a Shadal player, and the other one I Tenyi lock myself, so I might as well. Usually make this in games 2 and 3 against specific matchups if you really want to jig for floodgates in the side deck. But other than that, all 3 of these were really good. I wanted to make this in my last round in game 1 to kill my opponent, but he had Valor for my Xixiao, so you live and you learn sometimes.
Right, so on to the side deck.
Yep. So Swordsoul tokens. These are for like 4 Swordsoul cards. This is if I get into Buried. Moral support. Mudkip best token though. Side deck. So I decided to side 3 Crow. The big reason about siding 3 Crow is that the deck has a really easy at Despia matchup unless they open like Cracked, which doesn't happen a whole lot, but it's usually there to make the Despia matchup even easier. So you turn like a 70-30 matchup into an 80-30 or 80-20 matchup if you draw this card. The other big thing about it is that there are certain Scythe decks like Libromancers where you need to draw 2 outs to the Scythe lock because they'll usually use the trap card on your first one. So against the Libromancer I played, I top decked this for turn while I had Chalice in my hand. So I Chaliced the Hulk in draw phase, so he's forced to use the trap, and then I crowed the Scythe and I killed him. Next, 3 Dark Ruler. This is for the Punk deck. If you activate this, they lose. You just break their whole board and they stare at you. 3 Twin and Reboot for the Monkey decks, like Striker, Eldritch, and whatever. I wish I draw this card more often, but I don't. So 2 Anti-Spell. This is mainly for Despia and other weird spell decks like Striker. And then finally, 3D Barrier. I didn't activate this at all during the weekend, but boy, this card is broken, and you should probably deal with it at some point.
Some point soon, hopefully.
Yeah, I hope so.
All right, well, I appreciate it, man.
Yeah.
And
shout outs to Huntsville locals, best locals in Alabama. Don't at me.
True.
But other than that, shout out to the guy behind the camera. He was a great partner on the way down there because that was a 4.5 hour drive.
It was a long one.
Yeah.
All right, well, thank you guys for watching, and peace.